It's now my pleasure to release the 2021 State of the Industry Report brought to you by BioAlberta and Deloitte. This year's SOI is the most comprehensive report since its inception in 2009. 416 companies were invited to fill out the survey. We had 238 respond, a record response rate of 58%. This is in part due to the hard work of our team at BioAlberta and Deloitte, but we also had numerous people in the community highlight the importance of this report. Many of you were on the life science ecosystem players call when Oba Harding proclaimed, "You need to fill this out. We use this to make funding decisions." Our numbers spiked that day and for the next 3 days because of that. To everyone who filled out the survey and championed the report itself, thank you. Here to provide some key findings of the report is Jason Ding. Jason is partner and senior managing director in Deloitte's corporate finance practice and national M&A lead of the life sciences and healthcare practice in Canada. For 10 years, Jason has focused on transactions in the area of licensing, partnering, and alliances, M&A, equity and debt financing, business valuations, and corporate finance. Jason's also been an executive in residence and founder of the Tech Health Accelerator at the U of A, where he was responsible for creating and scaling a new provincial life sciences accelerator. Jason is joining us from Toronto, as the people in the AGM saw, from a last-minute trip today. So Jason, I'm turning the feed over to you.
Thanks, Rob, very much. I'm going to wait. Hopefully you guys can see my screen that I'm sharing. Let me know if you can see my screen.
You're good, Jason.
Yeah, right on. And you can see the slide as well.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Rob, for the opportunity to speak to the BioAlberta membership today about the 2021 SOI report. Before I talk about the report, and similar to Rob, I want to thank BioAlberta and all of the industry associations partners for their assistance in reaching out to the member companies and for the companies and respondents who took the time to speak with our team or to fill in the survey. We could not complete this report without the participation of the industry, and so thank you again to the almost 250 companies that responded to our survey and to the team at BioAlberta and Deloitte who worked together to complete the report. As many of you know, the State of the Life Sciences Industry Report is a publication that Deloitte has been proud to partner with BioAlberta on for over 10 years. This report is an important source of information on the life sciences industry. And this respondent-based survey provides a snapshot of how the industry continues to generate jobs, commercialize new ideas and intellectual property in healthcare and life sciences, and how Alberta companies and institutions are making an impact on patients globally. BioAlberta and Deloitte collaborate on this report every 2 years to help stimulate dialogue and offer directional support to business leaders, agencies, and government on the sector. As with our previous reports, because these State of the Industry reports rely on respondents and the feedback is aggregated in a non-associable format, we encourage readers to not extrapolate the results of the report across the entire population of companies in the life sciences industry. After the last 20 months, we have to start the discussion today with COVID. The healthcare and life sciences sector was arguably one of the most impacted by the pandemic, having to adapt quickly to demands for new vaccine technologies, rapid diagnostics, adoption of healthcare technologies in a much faster and accelerated fashion, PPE shortages, and a tremendous influx of capital from government, as well as the public markets. As part of our survey, we asked a specific question around new funding sources that were accessed during COVID-19. And not surprisingly, most companies identified provincial and federal funding programs as critical to getting them through the pandemic. Programs accessed included the Canadian Emergency Business Account, with 26.1% of respondents accessing that program. The CEWS, or wage subsidy program, at 22.2%, and the rent subsidy program at 14% during the pandemic. We also saw some very interesting capital raises that were done in the public markets. And you'll see those in a little bit more detail in the appendices in the full report. But as an example, Aurora Cannabis successfully raised over $195 million in 2020, and another $159 million in 2021, while Sundial Growers raised $128 million of their own in early 2021. The survey also asked respondents to evaluate how 5 aspects of their business were affected. A majority of respondents recorded no change in their ability to retain existing talent during the COVID period. 10.9% indicated an increased ability to retain existing talent, while 14.9% of respondents reported a reduced ability to retain staff. 58% indicated there was no change in their ability to recruit new talent. As a result of the travel restrictions, companies were limited in their access to international customers and markets that they had relied on to support their growth. Similarly, private capital investment became harder to come by at the onset of the pandemic, given challenges with cross-border travel and communication. 41% of organizations stated that the inability of access to international markets was amongst the most difficult challenge they faced, while 32.8% stated access to capital was the most significant. In terms of organizations' ability to develop new products and services, there was a relatively even split reported. A third of organizations indicated this ability was increased, a third decreased, and another third suggested there was basically no change. Interestingly, we did receive some feedback that clinical trials and the ability to recruit patients was the most challenging part of developing and commercializing their products, and we certainly heard that with Antos's presentation earlier today. Through the pandemic, we also noted a new obstacle that companies must manage. Through the pandemic, while most of these challenges are not new, access to capital has consistently been a challenge for years, one that was exacerbated during the COVID-19 pandemic. In terms of the overview of companies and the companies that responded, we saw the trend continue. Since the 2019 report, we saw a big increase in companies located in Calgary, where in the 2019 report, more companies were located in Calgary than Edmonton versus all of our reports since 2009. 2021 reports were no different, with 50.2% of respondents located in Calgary, while about 40% of respondents were located in Edmonton, and the remainder of the companies scattered across the rest of the province. From a subsector perspective, the largest life sciences subsector in Alberta continues to be companies in the medical technology and devices subsector, which includes diagnostic technologies at 21.6%, followed by health biotechnology and pharma at 20%, other at 13.2%, and health IT at 11.6%, which is fairly consistent with previous reports with one exception: cannabis companies. Cannabis companies in the 2019 State of the Industry report made up about 18.5% of total respondents, whereas this year it shrunk to about 3%. We believe that the significant drop in cannabis organizations in the 2021 report can likely be attributed to factors including failed companies, consolidation and M&A, as well as a maturation of the industry resulting from a more closely regulated environment relative to 2019. The industry has also seen an increase in R&D spending from 2018 based on data collected from the respondents, closer to the level reported in the 2017 State of the Industry report. We expect that this is because of the increased government funding and capital that was made available during the pandemic period. With respect to jobs, the life sciences industry is expected to contribute approximately 12,400 direct and indirect jobs in Alberta in 2021, based on a 4x multiple, which is consistent with our prior reports. This figure is derived from the number of individuals forecasted to be employed by the end of 2021, which is expected to increase 33% from the reported employment count in 2020 from respondents. While the 2020 numbers were down, the increase in 2021 can likely be correlated to the impact of COVID-19 on the overall job market, which resulted in significant worldwide job cuts, supply shortages, and rapid economic downturn. Following the gradual management of the pandemic, economies have begun to recover, and as a result, so have the organizations that power them. The largest, on the distribution of employees, the largest proportion of companies employed fewer than 7 people, about 62.6%. This suggests that the industry continues to be dominated by small-scale startups and owner-operated organizations, where over 50% of employees work in companies fewer than 50 employees. Interestingly, where regulatory and clinical challenges and roles, so not on this slide, but we'll just fill this in for you in terms of roles that were most challenging to fill, which is a question that we always ask. Regulatory and clinical roles were the most challenging to fill in 2019. Business development and sales roles were seen to be the most difficult to fill in the 2021 report. 31% and 25% of respondents indicated that business development and sales roles, respectively, were the most challenging to fill in their organizations, which ranked 7th and 4th, respectively, in the 2019 report. Roughly 37% of respondents indicated that they did not report any revenues or preferred not to disclose their revenues. And over 1/3 of organizations indicated they were in the early stage of revenue generation. 35% of companies reported revenues between $1 and $500,000. While 2020 revenue decreased, likely due to COVID, respondents forecast that 2021 revenues to recover close to pre-pandemic levels. Similar to the 2019 SOI report, a majority of fiscal revenue was earned within Alberta, about 55% in 2020, followed by the United States, and then the rest of Canada with near identical rates to the previous report. However, fiscal revenue earned overseas in Asia decreased from 8% to 4%. And again, similar to other questions in the analysis and in the survey, COVID-19 was a major factor in this result, suggesting that organizations were forced to focus on domestic or interprovincial markets over international markets due to travel restrictions and limited access to new customers and new markets. On the financing side, last year, 2020, was a record year for financing, primarily due to significant investment from government, as well as large financing rounds raised by public companies in the cannabis sector. In addition, strong capital funding allocated for healthcare technology and services were available in the wake of COVID-19. Respondents indicated that they forecast 2021 to have less total capital raised than in 2020. Some respondents indicated that access to capital in general was a prevailing challenge, particularly in the private markets. Respondents also noted that COVID-19 continued to slow their ability to work quickly, rapidly make decisions, access patients and healthcare facilities, and operate clinical trials, which correlated to an impaired ability to raise capital in the following year, i.e. this year. Government funding is also expected to remain the prevailing source of financing in 2021. Finally, we always finish our report off with a question around issues facing the industry. Alberta's life sciences industry continues to grow, receive local, national, and global recognition, and is recognized as a global hub. COVID-19 has accelerated the growth of startups and has transitioned companies from the emerging phase towards the growth phase of development. However, the sustained growth is also met with a variety of challenges. The 3 issues that were top of mind for respondents, as shown in the graph to the side, include access to highly qualified personnel, sustainable funding for research and commercialization, and building a supportive environment for innovation and commercialization. These are slightly different than the 3 major issues or topical issues that were identified in the 2019 report, which focused on an investor tax credit program and enhancing established funding programs of government. Although the third, meaning improving the investment climate through globally competitive mechanisms such as matching funding models and enhanced venture capital environment, rated very high and continue to rate very high in the 2021 report. The data suggests that life science companies want to continue to build a strong ecosystem where innovation, emerging technologies, and research are supported and championed to enable commercialization. In order to continue to flourish, Alberta companies continue to need to access capital and top qualified talent to support sustainable growth, address market demand, collaborations and partnerships, and enable their businesses to grow at scale. Again, on behalf of both BioAlberta and Deloitte, thank you to all that participated in this year's survey. Please access the full State of the Industry report on BioAlberta's website. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Jason, for that overview. Very interesting report. As I said, I'd encourage you to go to our website, download the full report, and take a look at it. And what I find most interesting in there is really that focus on talent and the access to highly qualified people. And I think we've got our marching orders, and we've got a major item for us to work on as a community. I do want to say thanks to Jason and especially to his team, to Badea and Jordan, who worked with us on and on throughout the weeks as the data was coming in, qualifying the data, making sure that it was valid, and putting together a real high quality report. So thank you very much, Deloitte. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our presentation for today. I just have a few thank yous to wrap up with. First of all, thanks first and foremost to our board. We're looking forward to working with you. We have a new refreshed team, both on the board and in staff, and I'm quite excited about the next few months. Thanks to my team and the BioAlberta office for pulling this event off again. Christy, who's been the lead troubleshooter and making sure everybody gets connected. Trish, who's produced a tremendous program for us today. Aaron and Nizar as well, making sure that everybody was at the event and could connect in. A thanks and a shout out to Invert 720. This is the second year we've been in this facility. No offense, guys, but I hope it's the last time we're in this facility for a major event. But if you're looking for a production team, I can't think of anybody better than these guys. And most of all, thanks to our members and the members of the innovation community for supporting us. A couple things to remember: keep February 15th in your calendar for our signature event, which will be our policy forum and our gala. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletters, please do so on the website when you go to download the reports. Follow us on LinkedIn, and make sure you tell a friend about us and bring them out to the next networking event. Have a great afternoon, everybody. For those of you who are in Edmonton, drive safe and stay warm, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.